Birding is such an awesome way to connect with nature because you can find birds in all kinds of places, from the biggest cities to the smallest towns to the mountains and the desert. My name is Tarantula, and I'm a naturalist at Westminster Woods. I love going outside and looking at birds, and in this video, I'm going to take you with me and I'll teach you how to identify birds. And hopefully, when you're done watching this video, you can find some time to go outside and get to know some of the birds in your own neighborhood. All you really need to have with you when you go birdwatching is a sense of curiosity and a bit of patience. But these are some tools that are helpful to bring along with you if you have them. Number 1, a journal. When you're watching a bird, it can be really helpful to have a place to keep track of all the things you notice about the bird instead of having to keep track of it all in your head. Number 2, a bird guide or a smartphone. You don't need both, but if you want to identify your birds, you will want to have one of these two things with you. Number 3, binoculars. These are completely optional, but if you have them, bringing them along can help you to see birds more clearly. When you are watching a bird, there are 5 things to pay attention to if you want to figure out what kind of bird you're looking at. If you have a journal, you can write these things down as you go along. Number 1, color pattern. Try to notice all the colors on the bird and where the different colors are. For instance, this bird has a black body and a dark gray beak with a brilliant red patch on each of its shoulders. Number 2, size and shape. How big is the bird you're looking at? It can be really helpful to compare the size of your bird to something else, like this bird is the size of a basketball, or this bird is the size of a thumb. The shape of your bird is also really important, so pay close attention to the shape of your bird's feet, tail, and beak. If you are using a journal, you can make a little sketch if you want to. Number 3, sounds. Does your bird sing a song? Does it chirp? Does it squawk? Here's a fun fact. Most birds can actually make a few different sounds, but some birds, like the lyrebird, can make hundreds of different sounds. Every sound that a bird makes is unique to that species, so listen closely. Number 4, behavior. What is your bird doing? Is it perched on a branch? Or is it hopping around on the ground? Or is it constantly flying from flower to flower? Paying attention to the way birds act can give you important clues about how they relate to their environment. Number 5, habitat. Where is your bird hanging out? Different birds like to spend their time in different places. Some birds like to chill by a river, while others are most comfortable in a forest or on a mountaintop. Some birds like to spend their time in a town or a city. I found this bird perched on a store sign downtown. Let's see if we can use the 5 things we just talked about to figure out what kind of bird it is. First, we'll look at the colors. The back of this bird is a shiny dark blue, and it has a brown neck and a tan breast. It has a dark gray beak. Second, we'll look at the size and shape. This bird is smaller than a tennis ball, but larger than a golf ball. I noticed that its tail is deeply forked, and its beak is short and small. Unfortunately, this bird did not sing for me, so I'll have to leave the sounds part blank. Behavior. This bird is perched, and it seems to be straightening its feathers and stretching its little wing muscles. Finally, the habitat. This bird is in the middle of a small town, on a sign above a busy sidewalk. I noticed a few similar birds of the same species building a nest in the eave of a building nearby. This bird seems pretty comfortable with humans. So now that we have all these great observations, how can we use them to identify the bird? You have two options. The first option is you can look for the bird in a bird guide. This takes some patience and practice, but it's a rewarding way to identify your bird. The second option is that you can download the Merlin Bird ID app on a smartphone. This app is super easy to use, and it's free. Let's take a look at how the app works to identify the bird we just looked at. Before you identify your bird, you're going to need to install a bird pack. This can take a little while, but once that's done, you can go ahead and open up the app and click Start Bird ID. The app will start by asking where you saw the bird. Then the app will ask you what day you saw the bird. Then the app will ask you what size the bird was. The smallest option says sparrow-sized or smaller. A sparrow is about the size of your fist. Our bird was pretty small, so we're going to select this option. Then the app will ask you what the main colors were on your bird. Our bird was blue and brown. Then the app will ask you where the bird was or what it was doing. Our bird was on a store sign, but on a fence or wire is the closest option, so we'll select that. When you click Next, you will see a list of all the possible bird species. If you scroll down, you can look at pictures and read about the different species. If you tap on one of the pictures, you can look at more pictures of that species. If you tap on the sound icon in the bottom left, you will get to hear the different sounds that this bird makes. And if you tap on the information icon in the bottom right-hand corner, you can read all about this bird, including its habitat and behaviors. After looking at the pictures, reading the information, and comparing it to the other species on the list, I'm confident that this bird is a barn swallow. Here are 3 tips that I think will help you to find more birds when you go outside. Tip number 1, you will probably find more birds where there are more trees or other plants around. If there's a park near where you live, that's probably a good place to look for birds. Tip number 2, birds really love the morning time. You are likely to see more birds if you get outside before the day warms up too much. Tip number 3, become a stealth master. Birds are really skittish, so you will see more birds if you can try to stay quiet, avoid sudden movements, and avoid wearing bright colors. I found this bird in my sister's yard, and I identified it as a black Phoebe. It's in the group of birds called the flycatchers. Did you see how it just left its perch and then returned? Do you have a guess why it's behaving this way? Let's slow down the footage to take a closer look. Did you see it eat the bug? I think that's pretty neat. So now that you know a few things about how to identify birds, I hope you feel inspired to go outside and walk around and learn a thing or two about the birds in your own area.